The person standing in the way of your happiness is the one looking back at you in the mirror. Toxicity isn't always external. It can creep into our thoughts, habits, and emotions, often without us realizing it. It's subtle, like a splinter that festers over time. You may feel like life's obstacles are external, but what if you're unknowingly sabotaging yourself? This isn't about self-blame or beating yourself up. It's about awareness. Recognizing toxic behaviors within yourself is the first step to breaking free and reclaiming control. In this video, we'll explore 9 warning signs that you might be toxic to yourself. Some of these signs may hit closer to home than you expect, and that's okay. It's not a judgment, but rather an opportunity to grow. The more honest you are with yourself, the more empowered you become. Let's start. The first sign is the way you talk to yourself. Pay attention to your inner dialogue for a moment. Is it kind and supportive or harsh and unforgiving? Many people think that being self-critical helps them stay disciplined or push through challenges. But the truth is, negative self-talk often does more harm than good. Imagine calling yourself lazy or stupid every time you make a small mistake. How does that affect your ability to try again? Over time, this type of talk creates a mental environment where you believe you're never good enough. No matter how much you accomplish, it's like watering a garden with poison instead of nurturing it with care. You won't tolerate that kind of talk from others, so why accept it from yourself? You might justify it by thinking, I'm just being realistic. But here is a challenge. Write down your most common thoughts when you're stressed or upset. Then read them aloud, pretending they're directed at a close friend. Would you feel comfortable saying those words to someone you love? If not, why say them to yourself? Negative self-talk doesn't motivate. It creates shame, which leads to avoidance rather than progress. The second sign of self-toxicity is emotional suppression. Have you ever caught yourself brushing aside feelings like anger, sadness, or fear, thinking you'll deal with them later? Maybe you've been told that showing emotions makes you weak, or maybe life feels too chaotic to pause and process what's going on. Suppressing emotions might feel like a temporary fix, but it's a long-term trap. Picture emotions as water trying to flow through a pipe. If you block the pipe, the pressure builds until it eventually bursts, often in an overwhelming or destructive way. When you suppress emotions, they don't disappear. Instead, they resurface in unexpected ways, like snapping at a loved one, feeling physically exhausted for no reason, or waking up with a heavy sense of dread. Suppression doesn't make emotions smaller. It amplifies their impact. It also distances you from understanding yourself. Why are you angry? What's triggering your sadness? Without addressing these questions, the emotional clutter grows, making it harder to navigate life's challenges. The third sign is self-sabotage. This behavior is insidious because it often disguises itself as procrastination, perfectionism, or fear. Think about a goal you've wanted to achieve, whether it's starting a fitness routine, applying for a new job, or pursuing a passion project. You may begin with excitement, but somewhere along the way, you hesitate. Suddenly, tasks pile up, distractions feel impossible to ignore, or doubts creep in. You might tell yourself, I'm not ready, I'll fail anyway, or even, what if I succeed and can't handle it? This cycle keeps you trapped, as each delay erodes your confidence and reinforces a false belief that you're incapable of moving forward. Self-sabotage often stems from fear of the unknown. Success brings change, and change can feel threatening even when it's positive. For example, sticking to a workout plan might mean confronting insecurities about your body or health. Launching a creative project might expose you to criticism or rejection. These fears are valid, but avoiding them only solidifies their power over you. The fourth sign is setting unrealistic expectations for yourself. Striving for success is one thing, But when your goals are consistently unattainable, it sets you up for failure and disappointment. Maybe you expect perfection in everything you do, whether it's in your career, appearance, or even relationships. You hold yourself to a standard that no one else could realistically achieve. And when you inevitably fall short, you spiral into guilt, frustration, or even self-loathing. What's dangerous about this behavior is that it feels productive at first. You might think, I'm just ambitious, or this is what it takes to succeed. But in reality, these expectations become a heavy burden. Instead of celebrating progress or small wins, you focus on what's still missing. Over time, this mindset breeds dissatisfaction and burnout. A good way to combat this is by asking yourself, would I expect this from a friend or colleague? If the answer is no, it's time to adjust your standards. Goals should stretch you, but they shouldn't break you. The fifth sign is a lack of boundaries, especially with yourself. We often think of boundaries in the context of other people, like saying no to a demanding boss or a toxic friend. But personal boundaries are just as important. Do you overwork yourself, constantly push past your limits, or neglect basic needs like rest and self-care? If so, you might be letting your inner critic dictate your actions, convincing you that rest equals laziness or that slowing down means failure. This lack of boundaries can manifest in small, everyday choices. Maybe you skip meals because you're too focused on work or stay up late scrolling through social media, even though you know it leaves you exhausted the next day. These might seem like minor decisions, but collectively, they create a cycle of self-neglect. Setting personal boundaries means respecting your own limits, taking breaks when you need them, saying no to things that drain you, and prioritizing activities that recharge you. The sixth sign is constantly comparing yourself to others. This one is particularly tricky because social media and modern culture makes it so easy. You see a curated snapshot of someone else's life, perfect vacations, thriving relationships, career milestones, and you start measuring your worth against it. Even though you know these images don't tell the full story, they still feed a narrative in your mind. Why aren't I there yet? Or what's wrong with me? Comparison creates a toxic loop of envy, inadequacy, and self-doubt. Instead of focusing on your own path, you fixate on others, which robs you of joy in the present. It's important to remember that someone else's success doesn't diminish your own. The best way to combat this is by practicing gratitude. Take a moment each day to reflect on your own achievements, no matter how small. By shifting your focus inward, you can break free from the comparison trap and celebrate the progress you've made. The seventh sign is being overly self-reliant. Independence is a great quality, but there is a fine line between being self-sufficient and refusing to ask for help when you need it. If you constantly tell yourself, I'll handle it on my own, or feel like leaning on others is a sign of weakness, you might be doing more harm than good. Life wasn't meant to be tackled alone. We all need support from time to time. Over-reliance on yourself can lead to burnout, isolation, and a sense of resentment towards others for not noticing your struggles and towards yourself for not being enough. It's okay to admit you need help. In fact, reaching out to friends, family, or even professionals can be a powerful act of self-care. Asking for support doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're human. The eighth sign is holding on to guilt or grudges against yourself. Everyone makes mistakes. It's an inevitable part of being alive. But if you constantly replay your missteps or criticize yourself for decisions you made in the past, you're trapping yourself in a cycle of self-punishment. Similarly, holding on to regret for things you didn't do, paths not taken, opportunities missed, keeps you anchored in what-ifs instead of the present moment. It's important to remind yourself that growth only happens when you let go. You can't change the past, but you can learn from it. Start by acknowledging your mistakes, forgiving yourself, and committing to doing better moving forward. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the weight of regret so you can move forward with clarity. The ninth and final sign is the inability to celebrate your own achievements. Have you ever worked hard for something only to downplay it when you succeeded? Maybe you thought it's not a big deal, or felt like you didn't deserve the credit. This behavior robs you of the joy and confidence that come from your accomplishments. It's a toxic cycle. If you don't acknowledge your wins, you're less likely to feel motivated to pursue new goals. Start small. Whether it's completing a project, overcoming a fear, or simply surviving a tough day, take a moment to recognize your effort. Celebrate your progress, even if no one else notices. Because at the end of the day, your relationship with yourself sets the foundation for everything else in your life. As we wrap up, remember that self-toxicity isn't permanent. By recognizing these 9 signs, you've already taken the first step toward positive change. If any of these signs resonated with you, take it as an opportunity to start shifting your mindset and habits. Self-awareness is the key to self-improvement, and every small step forward matters. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. We are here to grow and learn together. Let's support each other on the journey toward a healthier, happier self. See you in the next one.